Today we're honored to have, I'm fortunate to have Judge David Milton on the broadcast with us. He's running to try and bring back some semblance of normalcy, I think might be the word. I call it normal. This what we're going through now, Judge, is not normal. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron, for having me on your show.
So tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on what's going on here, and how do we get back to law and order, Judge, and how do we get back to respect, I think is a good word.
Let me first begin by indicating my experience, and I won't go into a great deal of detail at this point in time, but I spent 36 years in public service, 24 years as a judge, and 12 as a prosecutor. So I believe I am able to speak precisely and accurately on this issue. In my view, Ron, it's more than just the local district attorney's office. It's a national movement. It's a national movement to replace the district attorneys, and I suspect also in Orange County, eventually they will target your district attorney. But it's a movement to replace district attorneys with soft on crime district attorneys. And they are sponsored by all news accounts, George Soros, a multi-billionaire. Now, this term around, he put $2.5 million in the effort to defeat former district attorney Jackie Lacey. He's doing the same this time around to support George Gascon. George Gascon is no doubt one of the part of that movement. If you think about the district attorney in New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and now Los Angeles, who are they? Think about George Gascon. This is a man who has never tried a case, ever. Think about that. Why is this person in charge of the largest district attorney's office in the entire country, the district attorney of Los Angeles County, and he has never tried a case?
Wow, that means I could be district attorney then, because I've never tried a case either. I mean, how does, is it the media that doesn't vet? I mean, we used to have it where the media vetted politicians. They don't really do that much anymore. But it seems to me that somebody should be broadcasting that from the all over the world, shouldn't they?
Well, you would think so, but it seems like we're in an upside down world now, Ron. The media seems to favor candidates such as George Gascon. That's been my experience. The Los Angeles Times recently endorsed him. It's strange when his proposals are geared toward protecting the criminal at the expense of victims. Should I take a moment to explain that?
Please.
All right. For instance, there are a number of people in prison who are so dangerous that they've gotten either a death sentence or a life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. As a prosecutor, I was able to achieve some of those sentences. I've a number of life without parole and to death. As a judge, I even sentenced an individual to death. But now, after appeals on the one death sentence, his sentence was reduced to life without parole. Now, just think about this. People who were so dangerous, they either got life without parole or they got death, and their sentence was commuted to life without parole. Now, these are some of the most dangerous people you could possibly know. I came in contact with these people. I know what they do. The individual, one particular individual, he murdered 7 people on different occasions, and his sentence of death was reduced to life without the possibility of parole. Gascon is lobbying up in Sacramento, to have him released, along with other persons who received sentences of life without the possibility of parole. And his proposal is this. This is actively happening in Sacramento now. Anyone who has a life without the possibility of parole sentence, and they've served 20 years already, they should be entitled to immediate release. Ron, these are some of the most dangerous people on this planet.
That's scary. I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, that's, immediate release with the unintended consequences of something like that. If you're just doing it as a blanket, you don't know if they might have intent on going right back out and getting back into the business again. It seems to me it's just ridiculous.
Sure, that's the point. And
Wow.
if you look at what we have, Ron, think about it more globally. We have open borders. We have DAs in major cities in this country who are intent on emptying the prisons of these dangerous people. We have activists who are attempting to disband the police, and we have activists and legislators who want to take away your means to protect yourself. Think about that calculus. Think about the factors there. Where does that leave society?
Well, I think it's going to leave society. My opinion is we're going to end up going back to the days of the Westerns when we had vigilantes. But I want to talk to you about that when we come back. We're going to continue our conversation. Judge David Milton is with us. He is running to bring back normalcy in Los Angeles, running against the district attorney Gascon, who, in my opinion, has done a pitiful job letting, you watch what's going on, and you can't turn on the news ever and not see that a mob of people going in and stealing something. I just saw In-N-Out close their first restaurant in California ever. CVS, Rite Aid closing stores. And you get some of these activists and politicians coming out and saying, well, it's their duty to stay open. No, it's not. It's their duty to make money for shareholders. That's what their job is. There's people like Gascon. It's his duty to keep our communities safe. And I think he's abdicating his duty. And if you missed what some of the comments, the conversation I had with Judge Milton in the last segment, shame on you. But you can go back and get that. And Judge was talking to us about open borders and DAs emptying prisons, activists. We see what's going on in stores when you get these groups coming in there. And I made the comment that, and I don't advocate for this, so please don't take me wrong. I don't advocate it, but I believe that we're going to end up going back to a time, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, when you had to take, your family's safety into your own hands. And there was times vigilantes were around. And Judge, do you think we're going to go back to those days?
Well, I don't know about going back to those days, but I can tell you this, Ron. Every living being has an instinctual response. It's self-defense, self-preservation. It's a self-preservation mechanism. If you were to look at my website, miltonforda.com, you will see that one thing that's prominent on that website is that I stand with Israel's right to exercise self-defense. And in addition to that, I believe Israel has a right to pursue its attackers until they're no longer a threat. I truly believe that. But not just Israel, but anyone placed in that position. If you are a victim or you're being victimized, you have a right to defend yourself, your property, and your loved ones. And this is what's going on here. It's as if the movement is attempting to take away the ability to defend yourself. Now, you mentioned smash and grab or flash mob type theft events. This is occurring all over the country. It began with the small mom and pop stores. You go in and smash their jewelry cases and with hammers and crowbars and things like that. Then it moved to the freestanding businesses like the Kmarts and the Walmarts. And now it's moved to complete shopping malls, just a complete takeover. So it's degrading society, the sense of helplessness. Mobs coming in, you're walking in places with your children, your family, and mobs come in and take over the place. That's number 2 on my platform, smash and grab type theft. And you'll probably ask what's number 1 eventually, but number 2 is smash and grab. And I want to comment about smash and grab. Gascon uses this Proposition 47 to circumvent filing the appropriate charges. He says $950 threshold. And he says, these are misdemeanors. Well, the penal code provides that if you enter into any structure, residential or commercial, and you have the intent to steal or commit some other felony inside there, that's a burglary. And if force or fear is used, it's a robbery. These are felonies. The perpetrators could be arrested right on the spot. Most of the time, the owners of these establishments tell their security people to stand down, where they're afraid of being sued. But the police can arrest these people right on the spot for burglary or robbery. And Gascon has directed the deputies in that office not to pursue these as burglaries and robberies, but misdemeanors instead. This is a directive. If I'm the district attorney of Los Angeles County, on day one, I will reverse that along with all the other his failed and dangerous policies.
You know, it's a shame when we start seeing some of these things. And Judge, you made a comment before about, you know, the instinct of self-defense. But I watched where, you know, in New York City, and I haven't seen it as much in Los Angeles yet, but where, you know, the bodega owner shot somebody and defending himself, his business, his employees, and the district attorney there is going after the bodega owner.
Yes, Alvin Bragg. You know what? In my view, Ron, I can only characterize it as this. You can use my name, Judge David S. Milton. I say that is despicable to attempt to charge this victim of robbery with some type of a charge and be lenient on the perpetrator. The perpetrator got what he deserved.
Yeah, you know something, you have to, I don't have any sympathy for some of these perpetrators when whatever happens to them, when they go in there with the intent of hurting somebody else, you know, go get a job. There's plenty of, I mean, we just saw a jobs report last week, the JOLTS report, job openings and labor transition. There's 10 million open jobs. So if somebody wants to work, they can. But I want to get to, because I don't want to forget, and you know, I do have these senior moments, Judge. So what is the number one item on your platform?
Number one?
Yep.
I'll have to tell you, I have to give you a little bit about my background before I tell you. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. I was born in Pasadena, but my parents moved to Indiana when I was an infant. I grew up there in a Judeo-Christian family. We were a patriotic family. We occupied all the branches of the military. My dad was a Marine. My oldest brother was a Marine. I was expecting to join the Marine Corps myself until my oldest brother was hit in Vietnam. He recovered, but that prompted me to join the reserves for 6 years. When I returned from the reserves, my active duty, I began working in the factories of Eli Lilly and Company, night school, trying to work my way up and educating myself. We were not out there protesting on college campuses as they did during the Vietnam era. We were patriotic and supported this country because we care about this country and its values. No place better on earth. And so having that military, now think about the time period. We're in the 60s and 70s. Our country was kind of racially tense at the time. I suffered some of those indignities, but those experiences combined with my Christian upbringing made me a strong man, a man who won't tolerate injustices. And so you're asking, how does that tie in to my number one topic on my platform? The number one item on my platform is hate crimes. What does that mean? It's a crime motivated because of one's ethnicity, race, religion, gender. I am sensitive to those things. I'm fair-minded. I won't tolerate injustices. If you do that type of thing, there ought to be consequences. And here's what's going on in the LA District Attorney's Office right now. Gascon has directed his deputies not to file that enhancement, hate crimes. So for instance, Ron, let me explain this. Let's say that someone assaulted you and beat you down to the ground because you're a certain ethnicity, whatever the ethnicity is, or because of your religion, or because of your gender. On top of that, you should get 3 additional years because it was motivated by hate. Gascon has instructed his deputies not to file that enhancement. And to me, that is just absolutely intolerable. And let me tell you, like I said, I spent 36 years in public service, and I'm now in private practice as a private judge, handling arbitrations, mediations, and complex discovery matters, I am prepared to leave that life and go back into public service and set that office back on course, which is public safety, which Gascon stubbornly refuses to do.
Well, something I didn't know that was your number one mission, Judge. But I can tell you that I go to a class on Sunday mornings, and I'm part of the group that's one of the largest in hate crimes now. Jewish people, 2.4% of the population, and the last I saw was about 55% of the hate crimes are anti-Semitic. And I was at a class Sunday morning, just a plain old, course. And at the temple I was at, they also had an AA class. But when you drive in, the very first vehicle you see is a private security vehicle with an armed gentleman there, wearing a weapon. And you look at that and you say, isn't it a shame that that's something that's really needed in this day and age?
Let me share a point on that. We went to the Skirball Center for the Hanukkah festivities last month, and we expected to be well attended. It was sparsely attended. This is a big event down there, and it was sparsely attended. Why? Because of the community is afraid to attend, because they believe, or I suspect they believe, that someone will do something destructive to their community.
Wow. You're right. Unfortunately, you're right, Judge. So we're going to come back and continue our conversation with Judge Milton, running to bring back normalcy as a district attorney candidate in Los Angeles County. We'll continue our conversation with Judge David Milton. Toby Keith passed away this morning of stomach cancer. 62 years old. It's a real shame. So our prayers go to him and his family, and hopefully we'll see him on the other side, but a great American loss today. Continue our conversation. Judge Milton, as I'm chatting with him, he's running for the office of District Attorney, Los Angeles County. Judge, what can we do to help you to help us?
Before I comment on that, Ron, I'd like to say that is a big loss, just coming to me now through your show. And one of my favorites, I love this bar. He's such a big loss. He added so much to our society. What a big loss. All right, let's go back to your question now. How can we help? Well, if you're a voter in Los Angeles County, I need your vote. And I think, and it's happening now, in the next few weeks, we'll be inundated with big money backing expensive TV commercials and other means through media on almost a full-time basis. Those are very expensive. Under the rules, I'm unable to contribute more on my own. I put in $100,000 myself, and I can't put in any more under the rules. And I need donations more than anything else, and opportunities like I have now on your show, Ron, to try to get the word out that I'm the only Republican in this race. The others have changed their vote from a couple have changed from Republican. One says Democrat now, and one says no party preference. And the others, there are a few who are that people don't realize there are 12 people in this race. Well, I'd say 3 or 4 of these guys are kind of backup aces in the hole in case Gascon is defeated. They will carry it. They agree with his policies. People need to be aware of that. This is the word that needs to get out. I'm the only Republican in this race. And if you check me out at miltonforda.com, you can find that out. But I need to help defray or raise the money to get my word out through the media. That's the most important thing. Gascon has got the support of Soros and getting the word out, and some of the others have just big money behind them. So that's the thing that would help me the most. Plus, encouraging your friends and relatives who are voters of Los Angeles County, please get out to vote and vote for me. And I'm prepared right now. I think a lot of people will conclude Gascon must go. So then the question is, who should be the successor? And if given the opportunity right now, if Ron thinks it's appropriate, I will tell you why I should be that successor.
Please do.
All right. First of all, I'm the most experienced in the group. No one has tried any cases more difficult than I have. I've tried the most difficult cases that you can try in any jurisdiction in this entire country, state or federal. The others don't have near the experience I have. As a deputy district attorney, as I mentioned before, I was able to achieve 2 death verdicts. And as a judge, I sentenced an individual death. These things are well deserved. I take them seriously. I'm not bragging about that. I follow the law, whatever the law says. If some of those other candidates will say, well, I can't follow the death penalty, which is Gascon and some of the others. It's not my personal belief. If you cannot follow the law, then you can't be the district attorney. You got to be able to set aside your personal convictions and follow the law. I strictly adhere to the Constitution and the law. Now, pardon me, I drafted 2 death penalty bills, shooting from a motor vehicle resulting in death. That's on the part of the penal code now. And then there's another one, shooting into an inhabited dwelling causing death. That one did not pass the legislature, but I intend to continue to push that one to get that enacted. Your former Senator Ed Royce helped me on those bills. Also, the stalking legislation, I co-authored that. Senator Royce helped support that one. That's now part of the penal code. These are things I'm proud of. I've imposed some of the heavy sentences that the other people who don't even come close to that. And heaviness of sentences, and that's not necessarily the gauge, but it indicates the degree, the type of crimes we're talking about: multiple victims, multiple defendants, complex conspiratorial problems in these cases, evidentiary problems. I have that experience. They don't. How about 2 juries? A lot of they don't know what you're talking about when you say use of 2 juries. I've had that experience. I've dealt with these cases, the death penalty cases. You've got to know, you should have that kind of experience if you're wanting to be the district attorney of Los Angeles County. Here's another little one. I was assistant chief trial counsel with the State Bar of California. I managed a team of deputies who were charged with disciplining lawyers who've run afoul of the law, unscrupulous lawyers. Don't you think the DA, it'd be nice for the DA to have that type of experience? Go ahead, Ron. This looks like you're wanting to interrupt me or say something or interject something. Go ahead.
No, it just, your experience there, Judge, is just amazing. And then, you contrast that, you hear the things that, and I didn't even give you enough time, I'm sure, to go through your whole CV, but then you contrast that with somebody who's never tried a case.
Right.
I mean, that to me, that's scary when I think about some of those things that, it's a combination. Everybody gets a chance to vote. And, with Governor Newsom, I guess everybody gets, vote, as President Obama put it, vote early, vote often. I don't, now with the governor sending out ballots to everybody, and I guess everybody can print their own if they want to. Take some time to I'm going to just share my opinion here, is because we're out of time, but take time to get educated. Everybody has the right to vote. I'm a big believer that you should exercise that right, but only exercise that right if you're going to also exercise a duty and an obligation and responsibility. Educate yourself. Understand who you're voting for, why you're voting for them. And I don't say you need to vote the way I do, but vote the way your education tells you. If you're happy with the smash and grabs, if you're happy with all the homelessness, if you're happy with the wide open borders, if you're happy with the fentanyl coming to our streets, we didn't even get to talk about that, Judge. If you're happy about all those things, well, then you might be happy with where you are. If you're not happy about those things, join me in going a different direction. That's why I was honored to have the judge come on and chat a little bit with us this morning and share, even if you don't know all of these questions, the judge gave you his credentials. Now go and ask every one of the other candidates, what are their credentials, and see how they stack up. I'm going to bet, just a gentleman's bet, a Diet Coke here or there, that you're not going to find anybody with the credentials that Judge Milton has. So again, I'm going to recommend go to visit. I know I wrote it down, Judge. Tell me the website again.
It's miltonforda.com.
miltonforda.com. There it is. I have it written. miltonforda.com. Do you have to be an LA County resident to contribute?
No, not at all. I welcome contributions, and I'm receiving contributions way without the state of California. So it helps. They're small contributions, but it helps. It just shows that people in the rest of the country care too about what's going on here in Los Angeles.
Well, they always say that what happens in California kind of bleeds into other parts of the country. So if you care, go visit miltonforda.com.